A certain woman, the widow of one of the prophets, came to Elisha in distress. Her husband, a faithful servant of the Lord, had died, leaving behind a heavy debt. Now the creditor had come, threatening to take her 2 sons as slaves. Elisha asked her, "What do you have in your house?" She answered, "Nothing, except a small jar of olive oil." Then the man of God said, "Go, borrow empty jars from your neighbors, many of them. Then go inside, shut the door behind you and your sons, and pour oil into all the jars." So she obeyed. They brought jar after jar, and the oil kept flowing until every vessel was full. When there were no more jars left, the oil stopped flowing. Elisha told her, "Go, sell the oil, pay your debt, and live on what is left." One day, Elisha traveled through the town of Shunem. A kind and wealthy woman invited him for a meal, and soon she and her husband built a small upper room for him to stay whenever he passed by. Grateful for her kindness, Elisha asked, "What can be done for her?" His servant Gehazi replied, "She has no son, and her husband is old." So Elisha called her and said, "About this time next year you will hold a son in your arms." And just as the prophet said, the woman conceived and gave birth to a son. Years later, the boy went out to his father in the field. Suddenly he cried, "My head, my head!" The servant carried him to his mother, but by noon the child had died. The Shunammite woman laid him on Elisha's bed and hurried to find the man of God. When she reached Elisha, she fell at his feet and cried out in grief. Elisha went with her to the house. He entered the room, closed the door, and prayed to the Lord. He stretched himself upon the child mouth to mouth, eyes to eyes, hands to hands, and the boy's body grew warm. Then the child sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. Elisha called the mother and said, "Take your son." She fell at his feet in worship, overjoyed and full of thanks to God. During a famine in the land, Elisha returned to Gilgal. The prophets were gathered around him, and he said to his servant, "Put on the large pot and cook stew for the men." One went out to gather herbs and unknowingly picked wild gourds that were poisonous. When they tasted the stew, they cried out, "O man of God, there is death in the pot." Elisha said, "Bring some flour." He threw it into the pot and said, "Serve it to the people," and there was nothing harmful in the stew. A man came from Baal-shalisha, bringing to Elisha 20 loaves of barley bread made from the first fruits. Elisha said, "Give it to the people to eat." His servant asked, "How can I set this before 100 men?" But Elisha replied, "Give it to the people, for this is what the Lord says, they will eat and have some left over." So he set it before them, and they ate, and there was plenty left over, just as the word of the Lord had spoken. You can read the story in 2 Kings chapter 4 from verse 1 to 44.